Yo, what is going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops, and today we got another video that's a part of the top 50 list for my assessment. We got Kevin Garnett in today's video. Now, where do I have him on my all-time list? Well, I got him ranked at number 21. But before we hop into Kevin Garnett, gonna need you guys to hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Also, comment down below. You can comment in the middle of the video if I say something that you completely agree or disagree with, or at the end of the video what you think I did with ranking Kevin Garnett on my all-time list, like if you agree or disagree with my stance. But without further ado, let's hop into KG. Now, he was a 15-time All-Star over the course of his career in 1997, 1998, 2000 until 2011, and then 2013. Of course, in 1999 they didn't have an All-Star game because of the lockout. He was a member of the All-NBA teams 9 times over the course of his career, making first team in 2000, 2003, 2004, and 2008, making second team in 2001, 2002, and 2005, and third team in 1999 and 2007. In fact, he was even the NBA's MVP in 2004, and in terms of Defensive Player of the Year, he won one over the course of his career in 2008. For all defensive selections, he has 12 in total, making first team all defensive 9 times from 2000 until 2005, also 2008, 2009, and 2011, and he made 3 all defensive second teams in 2006, 2007, and 2012. He's actually tied for the most all defensive first team appearances in NBA history. He also was a 4-time rebounding leader from 2004 until 2007, and in 2008, when he won Defensive Player of the Year, he was also an NBA champion. Now, in terms of MVP shares, he received votes on 10 different occasions, 7 of which he was top 10 in the NBA. 2 times he was actually a runner-up in the 99-2000 season behind Shaq, and in 2002-2003 behind Tim Duncan, and he was a 1-time winner, as we know, in the 2003-2004 season. In terms of some all-time stat rankings, he has 26,071 points, good for 18th all-time, 5,445 assists, good for 52nd all-time, 14,662 rebounds, which is good for 9th all-time, 1,859 steals, which is good for 18th all-time, 2,037 blocks, good for 18th all-time, and actually in the total values of these 5 stats, he joins Hakeem Olajuwon as the only players to rank top 20 all-time in 4 of the major 5 stat categories. A 22.7 PER, good for 29th all-time, 191.4 win shares, good for 9th all-time, a 99.9 offensive win share total, good for 24th in history, 91.5 defensive win shares, good for 7th all-time, 5.6 box plus minus, good for 16th all-time, and a 96.9 VORP rating, which is 5th in NBA history. So as we can see, Kevin Garnett pretty much loaded up every stat, and that says a lot about his ability to be effective for so long. Now let's move into his playoff career. And in terms of the number game, weirdly enough, Kevin Garnett's production somewhat drops in the playoffs. Now, it's not substantial enough to make a big deal about, but in both his career and his prime years, he was less efficient, a more negative offensive player compared to that of the regular season, and even slightly defensively in his Timberwolves years as well. The fact that he never shot over 57% true shooting in any of his 14 playoff runs too is a little alarming. And I mean, consider this as well. In those 14 runs, 8 of them he was first rounded. And I'm not saying all of those were on him or anything, but playing a single round series is going to be your likeliest opportunity that you could put up great efficiency, and yet he never broke that barrier. Now, for his career, he did average 20 points per game in 9 of 26 series and 10 rebounds a game in 15 of 26 playoff series. I think maybe an underrated aspect of his playoff days, especially with Minnesota, was his facilitating ability. Over his 10 playoff series with the Wolves, KG averaged 5 assists per game and was over 4 assists per game in 9 of 10 series, and even had multiple where he actually was above 7 assists per game. Now, his assist to turnover ratio did decrease in the playoffs, but a big man to average 5 assists per game in the playoffs is still pretty important. He actually led the team in this category in the 2000 first round against Portland and the 2004 first round against Denver. Overall, though, his Timberwolves days are still seen as a failure. I mean, yes, he didn't have a great team, but he didn't have a bad one either. Tom Gugliotta and Wally Szczerbiak were both all-stars in Minnesota, and other great players in Minnesota such as Stephon Marbury, Chauncey Billups, Troy Hudson, Doug West, Terry Porter, Anthony Peeler, Terrell Brandon, and Malik Sealy too, who Kevin Garnett himself will tell you was a great player. And the other thing is that it's not like there was some juggernaut team that kept knocking KG and the Wolves down, but it was everybody. The Rockets, the Sonics, the Blazers, the Mavericks, and then the Lakers and Spurs did so twice over an 8-year period, and that's 6 different teams. And from his first playoff series with the Wolves and onward, none of those teams accomplished anything in his Timberwolves days except the 2 that beat him twice. Losing the first year to Houston was expected, but being outplayed by an aged Chuck and Hakeem, and arguably not even the best player in his team, was. He wasn't better than 2 or 3 Sonics players the next year, especially the glove, and he was essentially a stalemate to Vin Baker. He arguably wasn't even a top 2 player on his own team that series, because I could argue that both Anthony Peeler and Terry Porter were better. In 1999 against the Spurs, he wasn't very efficient, below 44% from the field, below 50% true shooting, and was outclassed by Tim Duncan, and one could even argue that Avery Johnson with his offensive efficiency that series, and Terrell Brandon being a much better playmaker, more efficient and more dependable, with similar scoring output and already being a better perimeter defender. Yes, KG is a better rim protector, but that doesn't mean perimeter defense is irrelevant, because he did a solid job on Mario Elie. In 2000 was just a poor look. I mean, he shot 38% from the field and 44% true shooting, while getting swept to a Portland team that was alright, but by no means was unbeatable. And in this series, Terrell Brandon was by far the best Wolves player, and KG was also outclassed by Rasheed Wallace and a 34-year-old Scottie Pippen. Now, 2001 Spurs, he wasn't bad. I mean, he was supposed to lose, which he did, but he played up to his standard. I mean, of course, Tim Duncan was better that series, but KG was probably the second best player in that series. Maybe you could argue David Robinson, but I don't really see much strength in that. In 2002, it's not that he was bad, but he just got destroyed by Dirk. Statistically speaking, outside of assists, Dirk was either right on par or crushed KG in every other stat. And then people will lean toward defense. But even in this series, Dirk had a 95 defensive rating, which among both teams, every player in the top 8 of their rotation, was the lowest by over 10 rating points of everybody, while KG's was 111. So you can say whatever you want about KG being a better defender for their career, but there is strength in the numbers. And that Dirk, that series, his defense was probably a bit underrated. I mean, there was nobody else that could fit that category. Who else would it be for Dallas? And then the next 2 years, KG just got beat by a better team with better players, and he did fine. I can't really fault him much there. But in those 7 first-round exit elimination games over the years that he lost from 1997 to 2003, Garnett averaged about 17 points per game, 11.5 rebounds, 1 block on 3.7 turnovers per game, which includes a 10-turnover game in the 1998 elimination, and to this day is tied for the 4th most in a playoff game, and actually the most in a playoff game by a big man ever, while shooting 37.5% from the field, 69% from the free throw line, and 43% true shooting. I mean, for a star, that's literally terrible, especially coming in a must-win scenario. Over the next 3 years, they missed the playoffs in all 3. The 04-05 year is probably the most surprising since they had all their players back. Sam Cassell missed some games here and there, but to be fair, Wally Szczerbiak missed over 50 when KG won MVP the year prior. But in this year, KG's defensive stats started to slide. It's not that he wasn't still good, but he just wasn't quite the same. He would make all defensive first team this year as well, but I think a lot of that has to do with the media perception after you win a prestigious award like MVP, and then they kind of fall over you. Because the next 2 years in Minnesota, he didn't. Now, in 2008, he did with the Boston Celtics, as well as win Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he refound himself in a sense there. They had the best single-season turnaround ever with his and Ray Allen's combined addition, and Paul Pierce's health as well, and won the championship. In 2009, they had a great start, but Garnett had a right knee sprain and couldn't play in the playoffs. However, he returned in 2010 to make another finals run, but in the NBA Finals, he kind of sold the bag. I mean, yes, he was efficient in Game 7, but with no Kendrick Perkins available that night, it was especially necessary that KG needed to step up defensively and didn't. I mean, Pau Gasol averaged better numbers in every stat category than KG even for the series, except for steals per game. Pau was more efficient, doubled his rebounds, and sure, you could say that was Perk's major responsibility, but you can even add together how many rebounds Perkins and KG accounted for that series, and it would still be less than Pau Gasol in terms of total and average. After 2010, KG never made the finals again. He was a 2011 and 2013 All-Star before ultimately ending his career in 2016. So where does Kevin Garnett's value place him today? And the answer, I'd say, is overrated. I mean, listen, Garnett is great, and I do dislike the fact that I had to be so negative because I have no problems with Garnett.
Well, at least as a player. I mean, that thing he said to Tim Duncan still isn't cool to this day.
But it's just the facts. I mean, people are giving him treatment to another guy soon to come on this list, where his legacy elevates post-retirement. I mean, how does that even make sense? He's retired. He had tons of fails, both with Minnesota and even Boston, with himself as a major blame. Now, anywhere 20 to 25 for Kevin Garnett, I don't mind, but to say he's top 10 or top 15, like, he just isn't. I don't know who came up with this KG trend. It started about a month or two ago, but it just leaves out too much information. He's an all-time great defender, arguably the best single season in 2004 by a power forward ever, but just stop overrating him. It's got to come to an end. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Again, I don't like being so negative here on Kevin Garnett, but what I've seen recently is just getting bad.
How can a player increase on the all-time list when they've been retired for several years? What has he done in the last 5 years to move him to a higher spot on the all-time list? And I get it, people, their opinions change, but everybody's? Like, that doesn't make sense.
And that's probably one of the most annoying things, in my opinion, when ranking these players. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.